Hi, everyone. I'm Samantha Copeland, the founder of Perfume Playground. We are lovers of scent, soul, and science, play, beauty, and ritual. And this means that we take self care and wellness pretty seriously. And while we're not experts on astrology, there's something about this time of year when the equinox is about to happen that we believe that can be accessed and used as a great asset. So if you didn't know, the spring equinox is coming up on 23rd of September. And we love to connect with other female founders with similar values. So it's such a privilege to introduce Trish Devereux, a certified holistic health coach specializing in gut health and food psychology. Trish teaches breathwork, meditation, and yoga with over 380 hours of teacher training and is also a member of the Meditation Association of Australia. Wow, it's amazing. We're so pleased that you're here. And Trish is going to be joining us on the 23rd of September for intention setting and breathwork meditation. So save the dates in your calendar now. So we're just going to have a quick chat about your wellness journey. So Trish, tell us about yourself, your background, and the experiences that have shaped you to be the person you are today.
So, Sam, firstly, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be part of this beautiful spring equinox journey, part of helping your customers or clients support their own intention setting transformational journey on the spring equinox. It's funny, I've been pondering lately. I've found that there's so much noise in the wellness space. There's so much noise in the world. There's so much noise in the wellness space. And it's made me start to think about what it is that I'm offering, what it is that I'm doing. And it's, I suppose, innately made me think about where I've come and what my journey is. So my name's Trish. I'm a health and wellness coach and breathwork and meditation teacher. I come from New Zealand. I'm the oldest of 6 children, come from a small town in New Zealand called Dunedin. I couldn't wait to run away from it. I am also a wife and mother to a beautiful 11-year-old daughter. And when I think about what shapes me as a person, like I said, I started to think about my life, what led me here, what it is that I'm offering. There's 2 parts to my journey and also what I'm offering through High Health Club, which is I started out in life not as an overly confident person. So for me, this business is equal parts health and equal parts helping people become that best version of themselves. And I've had my own health journeys along the way. I initially started as, I started in the health and wellness on this quest for health and wellness, probably like most young women, and in a way to reach that best body ideal. It probably came from the wrong places. And when I grew up, I had quite intense eating issues that started me on this journey. And then over time, that turned into wanting to help others create a beautiful, abundant mindset around health and well-being and how to support themselves from that right space instead of buying into the ideals of what is pushed at us in this crazy world that we live in.
Yeah, those ideals can be, you old school flicking through the magazines, but now it's just on social media. It's pretty hard to escape all of that comparison that you can kind of do. So yeah, actually that sort of like leads me to, with your 11-year-old daughter, like how does that kind of work, having you've gone through this kind of experience yourself? Like how can you protect, or what's some of the wisdom that you have, or some of the boundaries that you've set with her?
It's actually really interesting. It was probably about 6 months ago. She actually was coming home from school. She was really body conscious. And some of the things that were coming out of the conversation she was having was just so crushing. And it really took me back to, as an adult, you can see where you got this from. Insofar as I can see that her brain's not shaped to understand some of the comments that are coming her way or some of the things that they're talking about. And they can really land and lead them to the wrong places. So I've really tried to make sure I'm not teaching her the wrong thing. So when we're talking about food, we're talking about nourishing the body. We're not talking about good and bad. We're talking about sometimes foods. We're talking about, there's nothing's off limits in our house, but we very much talk about making sure that you nourish your body, making sure that you're putting the good things in, making sure she's taking her gut powders so that when she's having the ice cream and the chocolate bars and all of these things, she understands that there's a balance that we're trying to achieve rather than a good versus bad. That's been a really big part of the conversation. And from a body perspective, it's been an interesting journey of one, not like we spoke about before, it's these ideals that we can be dragged into intentionally or not. And it's really hard for me to step back and make sure I'm not putting my damage on her. For example, there were a couple of comments around weight. Having a belly, she's 11, she's growing, she's a beautiful, healthy girl.
Yeah.
But it's we get so caught up and it's easy to want to say, well, look, just don't eat as much and don't do XYZ. But that's not passing on the right message. So what we talk about is loving our bodies, but making sure we're moving and feeling good in them. It's been so tricky, I have to say, and so frustrating. And I think it's made me dive more into, I'm starting to lean more toward the food psychology part of the business and making sure that we're eating and drinking and doing all of the things for the right reasons.
Oh man, they're big conversations. And we all either have gone through a journey like that ourselves, or we've had very close friends that have gone through it, or we know daughters or nieces or anything. But yeah, I'm very fascinated about just with everything, just with social media nowadays. Just seems a lot more intense and confronting, just with that comparison side. And then I love how you are trying to avoid that idea of good and bad, because I think just moving away to a bit of a more of a bird's eye view and not having those extreme views on things definitely can, just makes more like, I don't know, just acceptance, I suppose, that you can kind of go towards something for a little bit, come back to it, but you don't have to go down rabbit holes of guilt, which then you can just sort of stay in those, which can create cycles of sort of destruction in a way. So
100%. Yeah. And I think, look, I didn't mention this before, but one of the things that got me into health and wellness as a teacher was, one, I had my own health issues. So I had eating issues, and then I was I was a sucker for punishment. I had back issues, and then I had fertility issues. And one of the things, so through my own journey, I needed to be able to understand how to support myself. Obviously, there was something I was doing that wasn't right. And one of the things that really pushed me from doing it for myself and doing it as a teacher or helping others really understand how to support themselves was, I remember years ago, I'd studied through the Institute of Integrative Nutrition to become a health and wellness coach. And initially that was just for me. I wasn't quite sure. I thought from there perhaps I would, because they offer a beautiful broad range. They do nutrition and naturopathy, Ayurvedic medicine, Chinese medicine, a whole array. And I thought from there I would specialize. But what I realized was this beautiful broad range, this broad lens of not being too narrow in my approach. But what really pushed me into teaching was, I remember reading an article from a really well-known nutritionist, and she was talking about, and look, this was someone, again, and I premise this with, everyone should do what works for them. It's not necessarily a judgment on this person. It was just the reaction that this article caused in me. So I followed this person already, and I could see from their lifestyle, or certainly what they were portraying on social media, was very clean, very, very clean living. And they wrote an article about going on a detox. And then the article was along the lines of how damaging, or how much we use alcohol and sugar as a crux. And it went on from there. I'm not going to go too much into it. But at the time, I remember thinking, I am someone who is so moderate. I really live and breathe this 80-20 lifestyle. I know how to support myself, and I feel so triggered right now and such a bad person. imagine what that's doing for other people who don't have the same knowledge that I have. And I was so frustrated by that narrow, I thought, judgmental view, that I really wanted to get out there and help people to support themselves from a realistic perspective. I mean, I love to have a glass of wine or two. I love to eat healthy treats. You know, it doesn't need to be this all or nothing ideal that we're all searching for. And I think that messaging that's too prescriptive like that can be really damaging, and it's not going to change this disordered way that we all look at ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh gosh, we got some heavy conversations happening already, the two of us. Wow. I mean, I would, because like honestly, just listening to that around like the fertility side of things, and with the fragrance industry, there's a lot of hormonal disruptors. There's a lot of cool nasties that are put into fragrances, so they have that longevity and that projection that everyone's sort of searching for. And so I kind of have passion around that side of it, and the fertility side. So when you talked about the fertility side, what are some of the things that you've done to improve your fertility using some of the tools and the knowledge around the gut psychology, and even some of your breathwork and meditation?
Look, fertility is a huge, like, it's so big and so heartbreaking. And we really do live in a world, like, it's incredible that we have advocates like you to push this, or to share the fact that fragrance, it's awful, it's in everything, it can be so disruptive. And what I learned on my journey was there was a few different components. There's a few different things I would definitely talk about for fertility. So what you eat absolutely becomes you. So understanding that it's the quality of the food that you're eating, it's not having, like, I know there's this big divide around organic versus non-organic, for example, but when you break it down, it's, you don't want just like you don't want the fragrances on your body or these poisons on your body, you don't want them on your food. So you want to eat beautiful, clean, preferably pesticide-free fruits and vegetables. Eat in abundance, not a restrictive diet. Make sure you're not putting pesticides and things on your body, because everything that goes on and in your body needs to be processed through the liver. So that just causes extra backlog. But also managing your stress, I found, was a really huge one. So what I was doing when I was going into my journey, which I really was oblivious to, was I was working really hard. I was stressed. I was running at lunchtime thinking I was doing the right things. And then I was probably having a glass of wine at night to wind down. And whilst they can be great if done in the right way, I was just this big ball of stress. I had absolutely no comprehension of how to, because even going for a run, for example, if not done in the right mindset, can add stress to the body. So it's all about eliminating inflammation and supporting your stress is what I found. So eating really well, managing my stress, which is where breathwork and meditation came into it for me. And then also 80-20, because a big part of the fertility journey, when you get into it, can be really stressful and can be really prescriptive, and you shouldn't have this and you shouldn't have this and you shouldn't have this. And for me personally, I found that just added to the stress of it. So I really tried to embrace this. Look, I'm going to be good most of the time. It cannot possibly be that glass of wine or two over the weekend that is going to be the reason I'm not getting pregnant.
Yeah, totally. Or that one cup of coffee, or
that one cup of coffee, 100%.
Yeah. There's bigger.
Be kind.
Yeah.
Stress.
And what about sleep? So, the change in daylight hours during the spring equinox, does it impact, sleep or overall kind of health? Like, what's your view on that?
So what I would say about sleep is spring. So if you think about winter, the days are shorter insofar as there's less light. We're likely, this encourages us to hibernate more. We're at home more. We're probably moving less. We're sleeping earlier. And then we're coming into spring and the clocks change and there's more daylight. And so what this means is both the change in the clock, but also more daylight can mean that it's harder for us. Like, it changes our circadian rhythm. So more light, we feel more awake. We can have more trouble getting to sleep. So sleep is obviously one of the number one fundamentals for health. It's where our body repairs. It's where so much happens in sleep. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole right now. Very important. But it's really important in this time to make sure that we're still keeping up with our sleep hygiene. So we're not getting carried away, staying up too late, going out more. We really need to make sure that we're still keeping up with those sleep routines and making sure that we're getting, 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. So not being on screens too much at the end of the day, making sure our room is still nice and dark, perhaps. And that's both for getting to sleep, but also so we're not waking up too early.
I've just noticed the hugest difference going to bed at 10:30. Like, I was always a night owl, and I could have like a little bit of sugar or sweet at like 9 o'clock and then stay up till 1. So, that I haven't done it for a long time, but that was, how I built the business, was because I was, running and doing that, and I would just have that little kick, and off I went on my second wind. But obviously totally not sustainable. And it's just amazing the difference I feel in the mornings now, having just sort of put that boundary of just in bed at 10:30. I always keep my phone like in my office, so outside of the bedroom, so I don't have the tech in my room. So I've done that forever. But definitely like no screens just before bed. That's something that I need to work on that a lot.
I know that you can still get to sleep.
Sorry?
You find though that you can still get to sleep?
Yeah, I usually go to sleep very quickly. So I think that's my thing. I have no issues sleeping.
Yeah.
And I don't really have issues waking up. It's more just that I know that when I do go to bed at 10:30, that I just usually wake up very sprightly, ready to go, sort of 6:30. Where if I stay, I get into that 7:30 start time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but back in the day, like when I was building the business, I would start sort of 9:30. So I would work till 1 or 2 in the morning, and then I got myself into a very interesting cycle for probably 4 years. But I was lucky because I was working for myself, so I could have those lazy mornings and run my own race.
Yeah.
But I don't think long term it was super healthy for me, and I really do think it led to a little bit of burnout, and then bad food choices and just things like that. So I think
yeah,
if I could go back and tell myself a few things, it would just be like, just go to bed, girl. Like, you're going to do better work. I think I started reading articles where it said if you stay up that late, the decisions that you're making, like that of a drunk person. So,
with the most healing parts of sleep, the most important parts are between 10 p.m. and midnight.
Yeah, exactly.
It's when most of the repair happens.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, you're right. Getting a good night's sleep, you eat so much better because we tend to crave more sugary, carbohydrate-rich foods when we're tired. And then that just causes that cycle.
I mean, I tried to go vegetarian. Like, I've done all sorts of random things, and then I ended up just kind of getting like sick from having no nutrients, because I was like, okay, I can't eat this, I can't eat this, I can't eat this. So I dabbled with a few of those things, fasting, all of that. What's your views on fasting? I'm interested to
I just realized there was something I forgot to mention when we talked about fertility, so I'll mention that quickly as well. But fasting, I mean, I'm more of a moderate person, to be honest. The thing about fasting is it's really incredible, but anything that you do needs to be something that you can do for your whole life. So fasting is really amazing. It's obviously a hot topic right now. It can be questionable for women in their fertility years. So you need to be making sure that you're working with a wellness practitioner that knows about that if you're going to be fasting, just because it can impact our hormones. And obviously that's the last thing you want when you're in your fertile years, which isn't just about having a baby. It's actually just, we're cyclical females. It's about supporting that natural rhythm. But what I've noticed is a lot of people are really interested in fasting from a weight loss perspective. And like anything, it works when you're doing it, and then once you go back to your normal habits, you end up just putting the weight back on. So for me, I'm more of a fan of what can you do every single day that's a no-brainer that you don't have to think about too much. But in saying that, if you can have an eating window that's only, I think it's 10 hours, that's mimicking some semblance of fasting anyway. So even if that just means that you're not eating from, say you finish your dinner at 6 and you're not eating before 6 the next morning.
Mm-hmm. Was there an age that you think that you sort of shifted away from some of the noise around what to do and not to do, and just started listening? Because I kind of feel like I did a few of those sorts of things, but then it faded away. Everything faded away. All the noise faded away. I no longer, was being judgmental about myself when I either looked in the mirror or was trying to control too much of any of it. And that moderation that you're talking about, just became the new normal. Did you have that, or was it a sort of more of a dramatic decision that you made one day, or how did it come for you?
One, I love that so much, and how amazing that you're able to, that you don't judge yourself. Like, that's such a huge thing that so many people can't get to. For me, it was probably a little bit more gradual. There was probably a time when, as I said, I was trying to get pregnant, and I realized that it can't possibly have been the one or two things that I was doing. Like, it had to be a lifestyle approach. So that was a big, I started to change then and more trust what I was doing. And over time, it's also been, I'm such a ravenous health and well, like I'm constantly reading and researching, and I'm so fascinated and learning about every single avenue of how to support ourselves. But what I was learning is the common denominator is it's never about restriction or this diet or that diet. Every diet across the board, or every wellness philosophy across the board, was always just the fundamentals: drink water, eat well, move your body, not too much. And I think it was when I started reading the science of longevity that they talk about, it's not necessarily, so there was that study by Dan Buettner, I think it is, on the blue zones. And essentially, for those that don't know, the blue zone study was a study of, I think it was 7 places across the globe, where the most amount of centurions, so people living to up to 100 and over, were in each part of the world. And what they found was, yes, they ate well, but the diets varied across all of them. Mm-hmm. And what it came down to more was, were they useful? Were they in community? Did they have a role in society? Were they happy? Did they move their body? Not to too extreme. So when I started reading that, I was like, okay, there's something in this.
So yeah, super, super, super interesting. I mean, I just hammered my body, like, because I was a long distance runner. So, just run all of the time. And then at some point I sort of discovered Qigong. And so then from doing all of that work, I found it fascinating that I sort of more struggled to sit still. So I would go along to these classes and everyone was all relaxed, and I just remember being not very relaxed. And then because the instructions are a little bit more abstract, and in fact there's usually not many instructions, you just sort of have to sort of figure it out yourself. I found that mentally and stimulating. But before we actually got into the more meditative practice, we always did a lot of movement, and I found that just that slowing down for me became really, really beneficial. And I saw such dramatic change that I sort of didn't feel the need to run as much anymore. I was getting the same amount of benefit that I used to get from going from a run from doing pretty much nothing. So I was like, I
know what I'll choose.
So I'd love to hear, obviously 380 hours of training of yoga is that's mind-boggling to me. So tell me, what led you to the decision to actually train in yoga, and then what and how do you practice yoga these days?
So the 380 hours, and funnily enough, I'm doing another round at the moment, is not all yoga. So 200 hours was a yoga teacher training. There was 100 hours, which was breathwork, meditation, and yoga teacher training. So it's from a school that teaches like Himalayan Kundalini yoga and some really incredible pranayama practices or breathwork practices. And funnily enough, what led me into it was COVID.
Yeah, wow.
So look, it was a teacher that I adored. So I started going to her classes, and it was just so freeing and so incredible what she taught. And her ability to weave breathwork, meditation, and yoga into these movement classes was so, I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm definitely someone that's all hips and shoulders. Like, I'm so tight. I think I'm just built that way. And I'm also spent years, as I said before, working in corporate. So I'm still an uncoordinated yoga teacher. But it makes me feel so amazing in my body. And during COVID, I decided to start doing some training for myself. And then the more I got into it, the more transformational it was for me. Yeah. And the more I wanted to get into it. So now how I practice is every morning it's a pretty rigid program when you're studying through this method. It's called the Light Collective. And there's basically an hour's practice in the morning and at least a 30-minute practice at night, which can be really challenging. You're supposed to meditate twice a day. Mm-hmm. Now what I do is more depends on the day, but I definitely find meditation and breath work really integral to setting myself up for success in my day. And it really helps me, I've noticed, process life. So how I like to think about it is, particularly with meditation. So I obviously teach meditation, and a lot of people can be really confronted by breath work and meditation because some of the practices, like you were just talking about, is sitting still, is not doing much, and it can really feel too much for people. But I think if you think about it from the perspective of, we're constantly going in our days and we're piling on top of, like, we're piling things on top of the other, as in we're doing things, we're thinking about things, we're getting work done, we have challenges, we have to-do lists, and they're just all getting piled up and we're never stopping. So unless you're running or doing some form of exercise that almost helps you process it, our brains aren't able to let anything go or process anything. And when you sit and do a meditation or breath work, even if your mind is really busy, which I know people think their mind is not supposed to be, you're allowing yourself the space and capacity to actually process what's going on. And then the more you do that, the more you can think clearly, the more you see things differently. Like you were speaking about before, the more you get that bird's eye view and you can take a step back instead of being so messy and in the detail.
Yeah, absolutely. And my teacher used to talk about it, Qigong teacher, used to talk about it like, you know, like a Coke can. And so like, you open the Coke can and it all just like sort of like fizzes over and everything. But then eventually it sort of starts settling and then the bubbles, and it's just not quite as intense. And I think sometimes that's how the meditation practice can be. You know, it can just start off and it's like so busy, and then eventually you kind of get to that sort of more still or flat Coke feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so funny. And I think what it also teaches, which I don't think people talk about enough, both breath work, because there's definitely some difficult breathwork practices where the pose might be challenging, for example, when you're holding a posture for a period of time, and it really builds your resilience. But same as meditation, you're training yourself to stay somewhere that you're not necessarily comfortable. And so that staying in that space builds resilience and builds new neural pathways in the body, so that when you're out in the world, you're able to not react as you would, because you've done the training when you're on your seat to fight against that in a way. And that's probably one of the things I've personally found to be the most amazing, is there's a bit of space between action and reaction. I feel like I'm able to handle things a little bit differently, even yelling at my daughter. Like, I've probably got a little bit more space between it happening and me reacting.
Yeah, I'm definitely can be a little bit fiery and hot-headed. So I think meditation or running, like that's probably why I've always done
Yeah.
practice that have enabled me to, yeah, try and create that distance between the the reaction to things that I get
Process. Process.
triggered. So yeah, so I just love this space so much. I mean, I did Vipassana, so I did the 10-day silence.
Oh,
I certainly know the training side of it, and trying to get into a place where, you know, for 2 hours I didn't move, and it took me the full 10 days, but I got there, and I was very proud of that moment. And you know, obviously not speaking, and going through that whole process as well, very, very inward. I learned a lot. So anyone out there, I highly recommend going and doing Vipassana, and doing yoga. But back onto the like the breath work.
mhm.
So do you have any practices that you might be able to share with our audiences, that we could maybe even do in this time? I know you and I are both, you know, we're both busy, we're both building businesses, so we probably are always going to try and find something that we can kind of squeeze into our schedule somehow. So do you have anything kind of like that in your toolkit?
Absolutely. So the beautiful thing about breath work, actually, and why I'm such an advocate for teaching it, is because we can really use it to change our state even within just a few minutes. Like, it really, breathwork allows us the opportunity to actually control the state that we want to be in and choose what that is. So it's almost like, how do I want to feel? What do I want to achieve here? Choose specific breath work, like insert breath work here. Here's the outcome. Like, it literally is the only thing that we have to choose or to drive our nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
So what I thought we would do today is a quick little breathwork practice that's beautiful for spring, because spring is all about detoxification. It's all about bringing that, you know, coming out of that hibernation period of winter, bringing more energy into the body. But a big part about spring is detoxifying. So we all naturally spring clean our homes, but we need to think about spring cleaning our bodies as well. So I thought I would teach a quick little practice. It's called Kapalabhati. So not to be practiced if you are pregnant, also not to be practiced if you're on your first or second day of your menstrual cycle. Otherwise, happy days, get about it. So this is a beautiful breathwork practice for one, building energy, as I said, and two, for detoxifying. So amazing for spring, and you can practice it from 1 minute up to 3 minutes. You can sort of build up to it. So let's just start by rubbing our hands together. Let's just bring our minds into our bodies a little bit. Take a big juicy inhale and exhale. And do one more just like that, inhaling through the nose. Keep rubbing those hands together, creating a little bit of energy. Exhaling. And bring your hands onto your belly. You can do one hand on your chest or both hands on your belly. And what we're going to focus on to start with is inhaling and exhaling through the nose. So inhaling through the nose. You can close your eyes if you want to, or you can keep them open. Exhaling through the nose. Inhaling through the nose. And exhaling. And what you'll notice as you inhale and exhale is that your belly expands, your belly and your chest expand. You might feel them pressing into your hands. And then your belly contracts. Your chest contracts. So let's just do a few more rounds like that, inhaling through the nose, noticing that beautiful expansion of the belly, that expansion of the chest, and the contraction of the chest, the contraction of the belly. One more, inhaling. And then we're simply going to quicken the pace of the exhale and force the exhale out of the nose. So keep going. What you'll notice is your belly contracts or flicks back into your spine. You might start to notice a little lightness in the body. Now just do a full deep exhale and come back into your own natural rhythm for a moment. And then what we might do is we'll go into one quick round together. So just close your eyes. Notice if that feels any different. You might feel a little bit of lightness, a little bit of energy in the body. What we're doing is we're forcing out those toxins through the nostrils, through compressing that belly. So we're going to do that one more time together, this time for a little bit quicker, and we'll just do it for about 20 seconds. So we're going to inhale through the nose, exhale through the nose, and just pumping that belly. So again, don't worry too much about the inhale. It will happen naturally. Just keep pumping that belly. I know this can seem like such a funny breath to do. If you'd like, you can quicken that pace. Just a couple more. Full deep exhale. Big juicy inhale, and this time holding at the top. Feeling that energy you've just created in the body, holding it for as long as you can. And then when you're ready, exhaling and opening the eyes and coming back into the room.
Oh, I feel amazing.
I feel good.
So good. I need you as my personal breath coach.
It's really
Wow.
lighting, isn't it?
What a vibe.
Yeah, it's such a buzz, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
You can
incredible.
practice it for up to 3 minutes. Like it can be like it is, and it is a practice. Like it can take a while to build up. You can start at 1 minute increments. So powerful.
So powerful. And I think that that's it. You don't have to sit for, an hour or 2 hours or go to Vipassana or anything. You can put these really small 1 minute, 3 minute intervals into your work day, and you'll just notice a huge shift in the way that you manage your own emotions, the way that you interact with other people. It really is just so incredible. And I think it's just that little moment in time to just say, I'm okay. Yeah, I'm okay. And I think, it's not about being elated all the time or depressed or whatever. It's just like that small moment in time to be like, hey, I'm here and I'm okay. And giving yourself that. It's like a gift,
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a checking in, isn't it? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, how am I? What's going on? It doesn't have to take long. But I think also, like I said before, it actually gives you the opportunity to choose. So it's like, okay, I'm not feeling great, or I'm really stressed, or I've got no energy and I need to quickly bring some into my body. All right, I know this practice or that practice or that practice. Like it gives us control. And in a world where we don't have a lot of it, I think it can be really impactful to learn just these small practices.
100%. And I think the spring equinox is a great time to kind of put some of those rituals back. If you've lost touch with some of them, it's a really great time to do that sort of reset. So, oh my gosh, I love this. That was amazing. And I'm just looking here at some of my notes, and is there anything else that that we wanted to kind of chat today about? I think we've kind of covered most of everything I wanted to chat to. Is there anything just on rebirth, growth, and renewal, like those words, what they mean to you, and any kind of final sort of tips that you might share with our audience, Trish?
Absolutely. So I thought what I might share is rebirth, renewal. Maybe I'll get to that second. So first of all, what I wanted to chat about is spring. So like we spoke about, it's an opportunity to reset, to cleanse the body, to bring a bit more energy into the body. It can be a really incredible time for building in small practices like dry body brushing is a really beautiful practice. It gets the lymphatic system moving. It helps us flush toxins out of the body, helps get rid of that dead, dry skin from winter. Doing things like bringing more green fruit, green leafy vegetables into the diet can be really powerful for spring. Just aligning your body with that energy that you want to be calling in, eating more fruits and vegetables, better herbs to support the liver. So in Ayurvedic and Chinese traditional medicine, they talk about spring being about supporting the liver. So any leafy greens, bitter herbs and things like that, really to help that detoxification process is incredible. And it can also be an opportunity to plant seeds. Like, what do you want to call in? What are your intentions? So we're letting go of the stagnancy of winter, and we're bringing that lightness into the body, and we're setting our intentions going forward. So it's that rebirth, that renewal. What do we want to call in? Like, it can be a really beautiful time, and we'll be doing a little bit of this on the 23rd. What is it that you like? It's an opportunity again to choose what you want to call into your life, and you can really use this time, whether it's in meditation or creating little rituals or intentions, to sit down and think about what is it that you want to do in this next season, and support your body to call that in. But sometimes I think we get so carried away with life, we forget to work out what it is we do and don't want. So spring can be such an amazing time just to bring a little bit of that in and help us rebirth, like help us create what it is that we're working towards.
And I think one of the things that I love about, fragrance and essential oils, and we only use naturals at Perfume Playground. So, no synthetics or parabens or phthalates or anything like that. So what we love to do is just use the scent in a way that we can anchor in those. So then whenever you go back into your daily life, just like you can add in the breath work, you can also smell kind of what you've made. So I think scent, wellness, like beauty, like it all kind of comes all into kind of one. So I'm really excited about, Saturday the 23rd. Trish and I will be there 2 till 4 p.m. in Melbourne. And we are going to be doing a similar workshop in Auckland as well, from 2 to 4. So it'll be a really beautiful, activating day. Lots of wisdom around beauty and wellness is going to be shared, and obviously all the breath work and intention setting. So thank you so much, Trish. I've absolutely loved chatting to you. I feel like we could probably do this every week and talk about so many different topics in this space. So I hope, I hope we can do it again. But if you want to check out Trish, and where can everyone find you online?
Thank you so much. I've absolutely loved this. We've definitely gone on quite a few tangents, which is so thoroughly enjoyable. I mean, it's nice to connect with other women in business and just be real and talk about the things that are going on in our lives. And I'm sure it resonates with so many people. It's not one linear road, like we're all complicated beings, and it is really important to connect and to understand how to support ourselves. And I really am excited to learn so much more about scent. So I can be found at High Health Club, so really active on Instagram or on my website highhealth.club.
Okay, fantastic. And I just realized we didn't really go deep into the gut side of things, which I feel like maybe that's another episode.
Maybe that's a follow-up.
I think it's the follow-up, because that's something that I'm really, really so fascinated by. And so, I have so many questions and would love to spend or unpack that with you. So once again, thank you for this. And we'll see you on the 23rd. And then, let's do a follow-up all around gut health at a later
Sounds
stage.
amazing. And we can do breath work. Like, there's some beautiful practices that connect in with gut health as well.
Amazing. Thanks, Trish. I'll see you soon.
Bye. Bye.